This is for all my guys. You'll never be free, fully free, until you realize that everything comes from you. All meaning comes from you. There is, in the outside world, we are taught as we're growing up that in order to get things done, you have to learn the facts and you need to manipulate the external world. That can be through science, that can be through getting a good job and getting a house that you want, and that's going to give you that freedom. Or it's winning big in crypto and jet setting and being a single guy running around doing whatever you want. It always ends up being something external. And that's just how we were raised, that you had to work, do hard work in order to get certain things. Think of grade school. You had to learn the lesson, do your homework, pass the test. You, nobody else, you had to do that. And when you did that, then you got your gold star, you got your A, you got your grade, you got rewarded. But when I was growing up, and when I started becoming more and more independent, joined the military, got married, had kids, started a business, it felt like the walls were closing in more and more. Because as I was getting more things that were outside, I would start to see that I was really trying to use those outside things to obtain this sense of freedom, this sense of transcending, almost this idea of when people take drugs like DMT or plant medicine or any drug really, there's this, especially for men, it's used as a means to become the outer observer of the world. That you're no longer bound by rules, you're no longer bound by desires, you're no longer bound by the needs and the requirements and all these things. You're able to completely let go of this reality in some fashion or another. I know when I used to drink a lot, there was always that sweet spot right before you were too drunk and right where you were not drunk enough. And that would always be the goal. And I'd reach it, but then I'd want more, and then I'd go blackout drunk or something like that. But the sweet spot would be where you had no inhibitions, where you felt like you were able to do anything. You were not in your head. You were not also completely aloof. You're able to have conversations without slurring, able to have fun, able to be fully present in your body, fully present to people. You're able to take a break from giving meaning to everything and just enjoy the present moment. And that idea, that feeling, being able to embody that, is the goal of most men. The sad truth, though, is that you're never going to achieve it out there. And really, you're not going to even achieve it with meditation and with just clearing your head and not getting thoughts and so on. What I've found is that you achieve that by realizing that everything that you see out there is a reflection of what's inside, and that eventually that reflection will show on the screen of space. And so it forces you, not forces you, it beckons you and calls out to you to sit in silence, not to have an empty head, not to get rid of your desires. In fact, your desires are from God. It's to, almost like a little kid, go and find a place and start imagining what you want and what it would be like to have certain things, what it would be like to have certain conversations erased, certain conversations or scenarios replayed in the way that you wanted. You go to this place, whether it's at night before you go to bed, or whether it's during the day, or when in your car like this. I'll do this after I record this. But, for me, I'll be in my car because I'm waiting. Be in my car, close my eyes, and let's say something happened today that I didn't like. Maybe there were not as many customers that bought things from me. Maybe there was a lot of customers that bought things from me. But let's say it's something I didn't like, where there was not too many clients. I imagine myself replaying the day where I'm looking, I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of clients. This is like, hopefully my staff is able to handle them all. And lo and behold, what happens, because it's almost like you're planting these seeds, there's this kind of little bit of there's a time delay. But typically what happens is you actually start to see the fruits of it. And a lot of us do this unknowingly and unconsciously. But if you look back, if you're at a place right now where you've had some big wins, if you look back to that win and you go further back to when you imagined, like, even wanting that new job or wanting that new car or wanting that new relationship, wanting to get married, wanting whatever it is, if you look back and really think far and think honestly and try to remember, more often than not, you'll remember that you had imagined that exact scenario. It might not be fully exact. It actually might be better than what you imagined. But for the most part, you're going to see that almost everything you do is a result of something you thought about in the past. And the more that you take that unconscious way of moving in the world and bringing things about in the world and make it conscious. Now, one thing that happens is when you start doing it consciously, then you're going to start thinking, well, this doesn't work. Or what if it doesn't work? Maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm imagining, and this now you start to doubt. You start to doubt. But if you try to work the muscle of doing it consciously, you'll see over and over. It might be where I've had this happen numerous times. Some people will say, oh, well, it's just a government conspiracy because now they can read your thoughts on your phone and the 5G and all that other stuff. There'll be times where I'm like, man, I have not seen this TikTok person in a long time, or I haven't seen this person post in a long time on YouTube, or I haven't seen I wonder if there's something that would do XYZ, but it's in my head. I never actually say it, and lo and behold, a day later, a couple of days later, boom, TikToker shows up, or a YouTuber, or a product, or something like that. And it happens, and we take it for granted often because we don't always remember that we imagined it. Now, this gives you tremendous amount of power, but often it gives you a tremendous amount of fear, because then it's like, well, if I imagine this thing, I really want it to happen. So now you start grasping onto it, and you're like, well, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. And you get into this loop of it hasn't happened yet, which means that rather than looking at it now and imagining it happening, you're actually imagining that it hasn't happened yet. And so you will literally wait. You'll literally be in a loop of, well, imagining it hasn't happened, so it will never happen. But the more that you can practice this is why I always do. For me, I started consciously with cups of coffee, or free things, or having somebody say something, or replaying a conversation. And you'll see, like, through revising a past conversation, or revising a past act, or whatever, often, I mean, every time it happens, it might not happen exactly how you imagine it, but I'll have people who maybe we had an argument, and then the next day it's almost like it never happened. Or people where we are not on good terms, and then the next time we talk, it's almost like we're good friends because of that revision of a conversation and so on. So why am I saying all this? We men want freedom. We want to transcend. We want that ecstasy of being able to not be subject to everything that's happening around us. We want to be free to have our own agency, our own operation. The only way to get that is to realize that you are the operant power, that you are the one that makes things happen. You are the one that, through your imagination, through your thoughts, through how you talk about yourself, what you think about yourself, your self-concept, your self-identity, that is what is going to determine what happens out there. And the more that you can do this, you'll start to see that when you have the argument with somebody, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's a daughter, a son, maybe it's a friend or whatever, you'll start to see very quickly that rather than arguing back, if you go into your imagination and you imagine the conversation different, or you go forward and you imagine your relationship different, a bridge of incidents will happen to make that happen. So you no longer have to manipulate people. Not that you consciously are, but how many times do you argue with people in your head who have done you wrong? And then you start strategizing. I know I used to strategize. Oh man, well, okay, I'll say this and they might say that, and I'll do this and they might do that. You don't have to do that any longer. Like, you can literally just be the mountain that everything splashes on, and start imagining how you want things to be, and the world will bend to your will. Take it for what it's worth. I'm just a guy sitting in a car. Should you trust me? I don't know. That's up to you. But I know it's worked for me. So if you want to transcend and get that feeling of freedom, the more that you can realize that you are the one that makes things happen internally first. Inside reflects outside. Even Jesus said, don't clean the outside of the cup when the inside is full of evil things and nasty things. Clean the inside of the cup first, and then the outside will be clean. Okay, so same thing with like the Pharisees. They're whitewashed tombs filled with all sorts of dead things. So you have to work on your inside first, and then the outside will show literally on the screen of space.